Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs to society, you rock dwellers, you sycophants, you stinkos, you bad people, all you hateful people who celebrate the president. As you know, you're always welcome here, and this is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and joining me today as my co-host is the President and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, and that's George Landrith. George, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
It's great to be here. This is the place to be. And as a stinko and deplorable, I'm very glad to be here.
And I'm glad you're here too. Well, George, first of all, I want to explain to our audience, I do have sniffles, a little bit of sneezing, a little bit of a runny nose here. It's not the coronavirus. It's allergy season here on the East Coast. So I don't want anybody to worry or to think that I shouldn't be touching my face or things like that. It's just the allergies. It's the runny nose, the itchy eyes. So just wanted to get that out as an explanation. And George, I had a very interesting tidbit on Facebook today with a woman. I pasted something up there that I think it's time for America to get back to work. I really do. And I think this I'm not saying that this coronavirus epidemic is not a serious aspect. It is. But what are we supposed to do? We are driving ourselves into a depression, George, a depression. We have not seen unemployment numbers like this since the Great Depression of 1929. It took 16 years and a world war to get us out of that depression. And yet we go through a cold and flu season every year, and I've said this many times here on Conservative Commandos. I know I'm going to say it many times more. Last year, 43 million people got the flu, 61,200 died. The year before, 49 million people got the flu, 78,000 people died. And that's horrible, George. But there wasn't a single business closed. There was not a single church closed. There was not a single school closed. No one was thrown out of work because of that. But it's happening now. And we are driving ourselves into a depression. I say, wouldn't happen last year, wouldn't happen next year. It's because this year is a presidential election year. The left, the media are driving this, and they're doing it, I do believe, to get rid of Donald Trump.
Well, and also probably just to build general dependence upon the government, which is one of their goals. This is the weird thing. And everyone wants to, not everyone, but lots of people want to pretend it's one or the other. Either you care about life or you just care about the almighty dollar. And there's nothing in between. And all I want to point out is that one of the reasons why we have been able to respond in a way, despite having early on not enough protective equipment for our healthcare workers and not enough for the rest of America, and we were shortage of ventilators and so forth. So we kind of entered this unprepared. Interestingly, no one complained that Barack Obama set us up for this, because when he used up all the other stuff during the swine flu, they didn't replace it.
All right.
No one's complained about that. No one's blamed him. Of course not. And I'm not that interested in blaming him either, because at this point it's kind of water on the bridge. We just have to move forward and resolve our problems. But the point is, the marketplace, the fact that we have a lot of manufacturing capacity has allowed us to change the world outlook. 3-4 weeks ago, we were in serious trouble. Now we're producing enough ventilators that in New York, where they were complaining not too long ago that they were 26,000 short, they're now prepared to send ventilators to other jurisdictions. So I guess what I would try to say with that is, this is not just a choice between money grubbing and caring about human lives. Financial resources allow you to feed your children. They allow you to educate your children. They allow you to give health care and treatment to the sick. They allow you to build hospitals. They allow you to conduct research and find cures. They allow you to build the factories that provide the very equipment and items that we need to defeat the coronavirus. And so there's if we were some kind of third world banana republic,
Well, we are
we
looking
wouldn't
like a
have.
third.
Well, we're starting to get. Yeah, we could get there
Yes.
if you let the Democrats have their way. But my point is, fortunately, we're not yet there. And if we were, our ability to fight this would be substantially different. And
Well,
and so to me, I find the whole choice between, oh, you're a money grubber or you care about people. That is a dishonest dichotomy. And people who engage in that, I will tell you this here and now, they're either stupid or they're dishonest, because there is no other alternative there. This is not that difficult to understand. You can actually be pro-life and pro having resources to feed your family and provide for your family. And somehow they think that there's no possible middle ground there. And that's because they're either stupid and they can't think, dynamically, or they're just dishonest and they hate Donald Trump so much they've decided that they're going to put blinders on and they're just going to go down this kind of silly, rat hole path. And that's fine if they want to do that. They have every right to do it, but we have every right to point out they're morons.
Well, George, I started to talk about a post I put up on Facebook. I says it's time for America to go back to work. We, the citizens, we, the people, must force our governors, must force our politicians to open America again. And I propose 2 ways to do it. Number 1, stop paying taxes. If you can, somehow withhold your taxes, stop paying your taxes. That's number 1. Number 2, maybe we need a general strike. Maybe we need a general stoppage of work, that the people that are working just say, okay, for 3 days, I'm going to sit home like the rest of America, shared misery. We're going to shut down the country. So I get a woman responded to that post by asking, gee, am I close to my gun and my Confederate flag? See, the liberals, they cannot debate these issues.
Yeah.
They got
You're from New Jersey, aren't you?
They have to insult. They have to do all these things to try to shut you up, to put you down, to keep you quiet, to enforce their views.
Yeah.
And that's their tactics. So, George, I wanted to ask you, stop paying taxes, a general strike. What's your thoughts? Am I taking it too far?
Well, no, I think that's fine. I mean, fortunately, we actually have a brief tax holiday, or they pushed it back, so it's pretty easy to accomplish that fact. But I would argue that one thing that'd be interesting to see is if as we get through all this, could we pass laws or referenda in some states where we require that if the government shuts everything down, they also have to forego their salaries.
George, Congress just voted themselves a $175,000 increase in salary and expenses. 93 million divided by 535, that's the number of people that are in Congress, works out to about $175,000.
Yeah. I don't know if they get all of that in a salary, or if some of that's going to go so they can invest. Some will go to investigate Donald Trump, I'm sure. Well, but the reality is they will
salary and expenses.
Yeah, but they got a pretty sizable pay raise during this, which makes no sense at all, because none of us are getting pay raises. At the very best, we're hanging on for dear life. They get a pay raise. And then Nancy Pelosi is out right now on vacation eating ice cream while basically telling Americans, I won't give you the aid that you need until I get the political goodies that I want. And to me, that's just demonstrating how truly kind of dark-hearted these people are. They're not good people. They're not good Americans. They're not good good people. They're bad human beings who are using this catastrophe to profit politically, and then at the same time pretending that they're trying to help people. Nancy Pelosi doesn't give a damn about people. She only cares about herself and her power and her party's power. That's it.
And George, the same people that say we're doing it to help people, they are the same people that have no problem with abortions, with putting innocent babies to death. Hey, George, let's take our first break here. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Yeah. This house is protected by a gun, and if you come to my door unannounced, looking for trouble, I'm going to meet you at the door with my 45. I don't have a Confederate American flag, but I do have a 45. Don't go away. George and I will be right back right after this break.
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast or share a rebroadcast with your friends, place to go is our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You can find the radio version there or the TV version. And don't forget to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. George, we're going to do something a little bit different. We have one of our listeners who wanted to chime in, and we want to welcome Mary. Mary, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Hi, Rick. Hi, George. Listen to you every day. I listen to you every day. And I just got home from BJ's, which is a large warehouse-type grocery and clothing store, and I felt like I was in a communist country. I mean, this is a warehouse type store, and the empty shelves, I just couldn't believe. I haven't been there for a month, and I thought I could go there and get things that I need. No butter, margarine, cheese, no fresh fruit, no eggs. They had plenty of milk, thank God. The meat station was about half full. No paper products except paper plates and napkins. I didn't even try to look for veggies. But I we all had our masks on. No one was panicking or anything. We were all walking through the store. But we were all in amazement at the empty shelves. I mean, I just don't understand why there are empty shelves.
Well, Mary, maybe you fell asleep and you woke up in Venezuela or Cuba. I mean, this sounds like the pictures we've seen of those locations.
I mean, I really believe the media has created such a panic in the American people that they're hoarding things. Because a month ago there was plenty of food for everybody, and now there seems to be empty shelves. So I really think the media has created such a panic in the people that they've gone out and just bought way over their needs and are just hoarding everything. I know even I myself today, I bought a few items that I'm not going to need for another month, but I thought it may not be here in a month, so I bought it. And
well, George, not to interrupt you, Mary, but George, don't you think we've been in this a month already? Those hoarding days, don't you think that everyone should be well stocked up on toilet paper and eggs and things like that? They probably have that coming out the yin-yang.
Rick, my living room isn't full yet. I could still fit a couple more rolls.
Well, George,
just kidding.
It sounds like to me there's a breakdown in the supply system. All right. Is it transportation? I don't think chickens have stopped laying eggs, George. I don't think they've stopped. I don't think cows have stopped producing milk to make cheese and butter and stuff. But are the truckers off of work because of the coronavirus? The plants that manufacture butter and cheese, are they out of business? I mean, George, again, this is what we've heard about living in a socialist country. What's your thoughts about why the shelves are still empty after a month, George?
Well, I suspect it's probably a multiple of factors. It could be that there's been a slight diminution in transit of goods and services. That you'd expect some diminution, and I suspect some people are, as our caller said, Mary, that there's some hoarding going on. I have a feeling it's a little bit of both. But the bottom line is, I don't believe that America actually is producing a lot fewer eggs today than it was a month ago. And same thing with toilet paper and so forth. I think that there's a variety of factors going in there. But this does give us an insight. If you're enjoying this now, if you like going to grocery stores and seeing lots of empty shelves, then my attitude would be I would stand up and say, please give us Bernie Sanders, or in the alternative, if he's not available because he doesn't want the nomination anymore, then give us Joe Biden. We need more socialism, because I like going to stores with empty shelves. I like having no choice when it comes to the cheese or whatever. And, fresh vegetables, they're out of style. I don't want any of that stuff. If that's what you're looking for, then who your party is. Your party is the Democratic Party. That's who you should be supporting, because they're the people who will create that for you. You can have it all year round, not just during a coronavirus issue, but always. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they'll help you lose weight too, as they did in that's one of the great things. You won't have to belong to Weight Watchers anymore, or Jenny Craig, or any of those things, because you will lose weight because you will slowly be starving to death. That's something that happened in Venezuela. The average Venezuelan was losing like 25 plus pounds a year, wasting away because they couldn't get food. And they started scavenging in dumps and in trash cans, trying to find anything that was edible. So that's socialism. It's there for you. You don't have to just have it occasionally during a pandemic. You can have it all the time.
So, Mary, you said it's been about a month since you've been shopping. Did you notice any other changes?
Oh, yeah. When you enter the stores, they direct you which way to go. They have aisles blocked off. And you're in the store, and you constantly get this recording. We care about your health. Please social distance. Please wear a mask. Use hand sanitizer. And it's just robotic voice going round and round in every store. Honestly, I feel like I can't believe I'm in America and going through this. Cleaning products. I mean, you can't find cleaning products anywhere.
George, it sounds a little Orwellian, doesn't it?
It does a little.
The pre-recorded voice over and over and over again.
Do you remember
directing
that?
you where to go?
Do you remember the Macintosh ad from 1984?
I do. Well,
and they had all the automatons kind of, sitting there kind of gazing at the big screen, kind of like, and there's this voice that was kind of just ranting something kind of over and over, and they're all just sitting there mesmerized, and this one person who was actually wearing not black and white, throws a hammer through the screen, and that's what I feel like a little bit's going on here. I think so, and that was about what? 1984. The tagline on that interview or that commercial was during the Super Bowl was why 1984 won't be like 1984, and So anyhow, it does kind of remind me of that. It's a little eerie.
Yeah. Well, the best part about it, what I liked, is when I shop, I always park in the back of the parking lot and walk to get exercise. And it was just a beautiful day to be out walking through the parking lot to get to the store. That was the best part about it. But wearing the mask, I can't imagine in the summer wearing that mask because it's hot. So it's no fun anymore shopping. It's no fun.
Mary, maybe that parking lot is the only place you can get out and walk. I know a lot of states have the parks closed. There was a man on the beach in New Jersey that got a fine because he was sitting on the beach all alone. On a beach, and
how dare he?
He got.
How dare he socially distance where we can see him? Yeah, I mean, it's like there were people who got arrested for going to a church service that was held in a parking lot where they were parked every other space and every other row. They had one of those local, only worked close by FM transmitters, so that they had their windows up, they had the radio on, and the minister was preaching via radio waves. So they were totally social distancing. The police showed up and started arresting people. It's like, you got to be kidding me. This is insanity.
Well, I think it's government on steroids, George. I mean, these politicians, local, county, state, federal officials, boy, they have got a real power grab here. And we'll probably be discussing this with one of our guests a little later on in the show. But, okay, when this coronavirus is over, and it will end, it'll probably end this summer when all flu seasons end in the summer, are we going to get all our freedoms and liberties back? I'm not so sure, George. I think these politicians are going to use this as an example. Hey, all we need to do is to declare an emergency, and we can do whatever we want to do. And the sheeple out there are not going to stop us. After all, we're doing it for their good, for their interest. I mean, there you go, George.
Yeah, well, if you look at history, government power tends to accumulate and grow. It never recedes. It's not like the tide. The tide comes in and then it goes out. If government power were more like that, meaning that during time of war or emergency, it was a little greater and the tide came in, but then after it was over, it went back out, we'd be okay with it. But that's not how it works.
No, I mean, again, we'll probably be discussing this with a guest, but we have examples. 9/11. Look, we haven't gotten our freedoms back from 9/11. I mean, anybody who thinks you has not been to an airport lately. Hey, Mary, we want to thank you for joining us. And George, on the other side, we're going to be... Thank you. On the other side, we're going to be talking with Jeremy Dice. He's a Deputy General Counsel for First Liberty Institute, and he's going to be talking about one of the things we were just discussing, that a victory for religious liberty. The mayor of Greenville, Mississippi, announced that he will allow drive-through church services, and Jeremy is going to join us to discuss that. But you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith. Yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We will be back with our first guest right after this break.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith, President and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. And I want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., as well as seen on the AUN television network in places like San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, all the way up to Redding. And with that, George, we do have our first guest of the day on with us. And as you do with all our guests, please make him feel welcome.
Absolutely. We're excited to have Jeremy Dice with us today on the Conservative Commandos. He's the Deputy General Counsel for First Liberty Institute. That's a nonprofit law firm that is dedicated to defending religious freedom for Americans. And I'm glad they exist, but I kind of feel like it's unfortunate they need to, because something as important as religious liberty ought not need active defense. It just seems to me like if everyone understood the importance of it, they would back off and let it go. But because you've got people who seem not to care about religious liberty, I am glad there's someone like Jeremy Dice fighting in the trenches to make sure that religious liberty remains strong. So, Jeremy, thanks for all you do, and welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. You know, religious liberty is always important. So it's not as if it just became important this week or last week or even after the coronavirus hit. But anytime there's an emergency, there's all kinds of excuses for more government control. I think we've seen that a little bit with religion. I always thought that when I started hearing about, like in Virginia, it's a crime punishable by up to a year in prison. And I think it was either it's a $2,500 crime or a $5,000 crime, too, as well, fine. So you get both. You can get time in jail and thousands of dollars in fines for attending church service. And I always kind of thought, wait a minute. It's one thing to advise churches, would you please do us a favor and find ways to socially distance. It's another to say you can't meet, and if you do, we'll throw you in jail. I'm like, I thought the First Amendment prohibited that. I thought we had this debate already, and the Constitution says the government cannot infringe upon the right of religious belief and religious activity. So tell us about what's going on with all this, because I'm a little concerned that people have forgotten. I forget which governor it was. Maybe it was New Jersey, who infected some of these, and then he said, "Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the Bill of Rights when I did this." It's like, what? Every time you take any action at all, you should be thinking about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. But somehow, when there's an emergency, no need. We'll just do what we want to do.
Yeah, it's certainly a strange time for everybody right now around the country, frankly around the world, but especially in the United States where we prize this idea of individual rights, of limited government, of freedom of religion and the free exercise thereof. I think it's been particularly of interest to us all. And my hope is that when we get on the other side of this issue, and I think we're going to get on the other side of this pandemic, and I hope very soon, but when we do, I think we're going to have a greater appreciation for the ideas that are in the First Amendment, especially of the free exercise of religion. I say that because we are living right now very much the vision of the left, this idea of freedom to worship, as they put it. That you can have your religion as long as you keep it inside the four walls of your home. Yeah. You can worship, but only do so in a virtual environment. Don't bring it outside into your place of employment. Don't carry it into the military. Certainly don't take it to school. And if you dare to take it to the public square, well, you might just be punished. Well, all those things are exactly what we're seeing today in this country, where we actually have to worship in virtual environments, and you can't go outside, and you can't go around to your place of employment, and all these things. Well, I think we understand now exactly why that First Amendment right is so precious, because in addition to all those other things that we're living under right now, we're also seeing kind of this zest for power by local government officials that are very quick to trample on those rights and cite a public health emergency for doing so. So let me be very clear. Yes, I do think there is a reason why they may be able to limit our freedoms for a time, and a temporary period at that, in order to deal with a public health crisis. But that does not give them carte blanche to run all over them and treat religious organizations differently than they would secular organizations in the process. And so you see situations like we've had now in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, where we received a temporary restraining order against the city of Louisville there, who wanted to not only ban drive-in churches that were compliant with the CDC, but then they wanted to write down their license plates numbers and send them into a forced 14-day quarantine period after they had their services. We also saw this in Mississippi, where the mayor in Greenville, Mississippi, targeted churches in particular, sending out his entire police force against our client when he tried to meet during drive-in services on a Thursday evening. And one of the officers said that his rights had been suspended I don't think he gets to make that call, not as a police officer, not as a mayor, not as a governor, nor as a president. Those rights came from God, not from government, and therefore they belong to us. And even during times of crisis, we have the right to freely exercise our religion. Now, as we've told churches around the country, we've said three things. Number one, we need you. Churches need to be here right now during this pandemic, serving their community, caring for their community, comforting their community, and caring well for them during this time. They need them. But we've also said these temporary restrictions are probably okay so long as they're evenly enforced. But when you have mayors like ones in Louisville and in Greenville, Mississippi, well, when they're targeting, saying, hey, look, you can't park on a church parking lot, but if you park at the liquor store, that's perfectly fine. Well, that's clearly targeting religious organizations and treating them differently and with discrimination. And then the third thing we reminded the government about, and reminded churches as well, is that these bans cannot be permanent. That's never going to stand. And for Mayor de Blasio to assert, as he did several weeks ago, that he may even send out his enforcement agencies to permanently shut down synagogues and other houses of worship, well, that's just not only ludicrous, it's flatly unconstitutional. And I would hope that the mayor would want to walk those back. So this is a crazy time, but we're going to be able to get through this. And when we do, I hope that we'll all have a greater appreciation for the First Amendment.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think is interesting in all of this, and this is my personal position, not necessarily yours, but my personal position is anybody who has gotten things, the First Amendment is not complicated. You learn this in high school at the very latest. Okay, most even elementary schools cover this in their civics sections in grade school. But by the time you graduate from high school, you understand what the First Amendment is, and it's not real complicated. It's actually pretty well laid out for you. And these guys couldn't pass a high school civics class. And my view is this. Whether it's the governor of Michigan, whether it's Mayor de Blasio, whoever these people are who seem to not get pretty basic stuff, they need to be removed from office at the soonest possible time. If that's through, denying them re-election, that's fine. If that's through a recall, if the state statutes permit that, that's fine. But I think there has to be essentially a major reaction by the public to say, we will not tolerate this, because if we just take it lying down, next time there's an emergency, they'll do the same thing all over again. We have to make it clear, this is not a precedent. We will not have basic human rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution stepped on, trampled on lightly. And to me, this is a real problem. I think we really do have to go after these people politically. I'm not saying violence. I'm saying politically, they must be made to pay for their transgressions. These are unforgivable constitutional transgressions for which they have lost the right to govern, and they must be removed.
Yeah, look, we've got history as an example here and as a precedent as well. We've been through crises before and weathered them well as well. Back in 1918, the Spanish flu ravaged our country, and you had public officials asking churches to please comply with their public health orders. And it was the churches that were saying, well, wait a minute, we're really liking this idea of the right to assembly and the right to peaceably assembly and the right to free exercise of our religion. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And they got together and they said, you know what, we're going to agree with that because it's wise for us to do so in that regard. But what you have there is something rather different.
My churches voluntarily shut everything down.
Precisely.
So we anything we do, and I'm a lay leader in my church, we meet weekly, but we do it using technology. So we're not in the same room. And we try to make sure we're still ministering and helping members and other things in ways that are sensitive. But that was all done voluntarily. And I'm supportive of that. I'm just not supportive of the government showing up to basically grab me by the scruff of the neck and force me to do it using police powers.
Right.
I think
what we're seeing right now is just that this virus may have an element of truth serum within it. And it's revealing quite a bit within those who may have a bent towards a greater and greater authoritarianism within their governing style. And that's clearly not going to be permitted. And I think what you're witnessing around the country right now is people are not just simply cabin feverish. They want to not only get outside and see the sun again and get back to their place of employment and do something productive. They understand what freedom actually is. And that's why you're beginning to see people say, wait a minute, should we be trusting these political authorities or not? Look, I think you've seen a very tolerant American people during this time. They're willing to hunker down for a period of time if that means saving the lives of their neighbor, of loving their neighbor well, and making sure that their best interests are at stake as well as their own. but that's going to last for a temporary period of time. And there's going to be public officials that are currently, and there's going to be more soon, that are going to overextend themselves on that and are going to force people into longer and longer periods of greater and greater authority. And that's not going to turn out very well for them.
I could not agree more. Jeremy, we're up against the clock, so we've got to take a quick break, but I'm glad you can stick through the break because I know there's more to talk about, and you have been a real source of some very interesting analysis. We, of course, are talking with Jeremy Dys. He's the Deputy General Counsel at First Liberty Institute, and we will be back after these messages with more from Jeremy. But I do want to remind you that you're listening and viewing the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We are coming to the Conservative Commandos radio network, the AUN TV network, and of course, always on the internet, including our own website, ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith. President and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. And for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And you can find a lot of other great articles, videos, and a lot of other terrific information. Our guest this segment is Jeremy Dice. He's the Deputy General Counsel for First Liberty Institute, a nonprofit law firm dedicated to defending religious freedom for all Americans. Jeremy, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
So, Jeremy, walk us through this issue of the King James Bible Baptist Church, their rub with the mayor of Greenville, Mississippi, and that of the governor.
Well, it's a very fascinating issue, and I'll correct you just briefly. It was the mayor that they had the problem with. I think Governor Reeves has been very supportive of the right to continue to meet, but Mayor Simmons in Greenville, Mississippi, sent out his entire police force after he passed a policy with the city council there that said that churches were going to be specifically targeted for enforcement. And the reason for that, he said, is that church people can't stay in their cars. They can't help themselves, as if they're somehow inadequate to the task of following CDC guidelines, which our clients were very happy to do. And so he sent his police force out to our client as he was having his Thursday evening services on, I think it was April the 9th, if I remember correctly, or April the 6th, one of the two, April the 6th, I think it was. And his police officers, it was the entire shift of those who were on duty in Greenville that day. So while crime is going crazy everywhere else in Greenville, I guess, the entire police force was surrounding King James Bible Baptist Church. Now, just get that picture in our heads for one moment, and you can see pictures of it at firstliberty.org, of course, but it's remarkable when you have police cruisers parked in the church parking lot, along the road beside it, police lights on as they're coming up to the services there. Imagine this African-American congregation and what they're thinking when these police officers are showing up to their church service. They're just simply there to sit in their cars with the windows rolled up, the doors shut the entire time. Pastor Hamilton was going to use a loudspeaker, but he didn't have enough time to go put it together, and so he just actually spoke in the open air as loudly as he could to the 5, 6, 7, or 8 cars that were parked in his lot there for worship that evening, while the cruisers remained on the side of the road. The police are supposed to be there to protect and serve, not to intimidate and disperse. And that's precisely what they were attempting to do in that church service there. As we reminded the mayor, actually earlier that day in a letter that we sent to the mayor, there is no exception for a pandemic in the First Amendment. That still is good law and good constitutional authority that restrains mayors like Eric Simmons in Greenville, Mississippi from doing what he did. And yet it went all the way through the weekend. And it took us all the way until after the United States Department of Justice weighed in on a separate case in that case, where Attorney General Bill Barr put out a statement of interest and a statement of his own saying how important the First Amendment is during a pandemic like this, and our own filing of a lawsuit against the city council for the mayor to finally relent and withdraw his unconstitutional order. You see, the problem with that order, as is the problem with many orders that we see around the country right now, and I've had requests from everywhere, from California to New York to Florida to Michigan. We've had requests everywhere where these orders are coming in saying, look, you can't park in a church parking lot, but you can park at a local liquor store or grocery store or lumber store. Those are okay. In other words, the police department in the city of Greenville has never been called to the Sonic Drive-In to keep people from parking there, but they've come to a church parking lot. That's discrimination, and it's of the kind that the First Amendment simply will not put up with.
Jeremy, do you know anything else about this this mayor of Greenville, Mississippi? Anything else you can tell us about him or want to tell us about him?
No, look, if I'm charitable today, I would say that I think everybody's trying to do the very best and trying to get through a very difficult situation. Right. I'm not sure because, again, we sent a letter on a Thursday. We didn't have him ever respond to that. I sent it to his personal email account. I never got a reply to that. And then we had to go to the extent of filing a federal lawsuit in federal court. Now, look, the mayor has, to his credit, come out and said that he was wrong, and it's hard to admit when you're wrong. And the city council is supposed to adopt some sort of a policy to counteract what he had said earlier, and I'm watching that carefully, and I assume that that's going to happen, and I take him at his word that it will and has. But it's important for us to remind city officials and county officials all over the country, of which there are, 40,000 plus of them in this nation, that you have to treat religious organizations the same way that you treat other organizations as well. When you say liquor stores can meet, or you can park in a liquor store parking lot, but not on a church parking lot, that's incorrect.
I gotta believe this mayor had to know what he was doing was unconstitutional. I'd have to believe that. And I have to wonder, why did he reverse his decision? Was it your suits? Was it the Department of Justice? Was it bad press? And because this got a lot of press. I mean, this went out all over the country. Was it political pressure? Was it all three? I kind of have the thought that it was more the Justice Department, First Liberty, the pressure from the press, bad politics, more than him realizing, oh yeah, I'm violating people's constitutional rights here. Am I thinking too far outside the box?
I think it's probably all those things and more. I don't know what was going on in the mind of Mayor Simmons right then, but again, playing the devil's advocate card, perhaps he was simply just ignorant of the law. Well, that all changed when I sent him an email with a letter that clearly articulated what the law actually is in the situation, and so he maintained that policy. And maybe we could permit that. Well, it's just one organization. Well, then over the weekend, we file a lawsuit in Louisville, Kentucky. We receive a temporary restraining order against the city of Louisville. And he certainly could have read that opinion by Judge Justin Walker up there in Kentucky and would have understood, as Judge Walker said, that was a very clear violation of the free exercise clause on the part of the city of Louisville, and maybe would have second-guessed things. But then the following Monday, the Monday after Easter, Mayor Simmons went out on a Facebook Live event and held a big press conference on the courthouse steps, rather defiant about the policy. So it took 2 federal lawsuits and the threat by the United States of America through the Department of Justice to get him to change his mind. Look, at the end of the day, I'm thrilled that the mayor changed his mind. If it took worldwide media attention, 2 lawsuits in the United States of America threatening a third, if that's what it takes, great. At least we have the Constitution upheld, and our clients are having the right to be able to meet, as they now have Thursday and 2 times on Sunday since this has actually transpired. So at the end of the day, it's important. It's an important lesson for all of us, and especially city officials and county officials all over the country, that you have to treat religious organizations fairly. When they're abiding by CDC guidelines, you got to at least say, look, we understand you're getting by, and this is a difficult time. We're not going to further trample upon your First Amendment rights.
Jeremy, you were describing this event to George in the first part of the interview. All right, so here we have a southern state, Mississippi. Here we have the police department. Here we have a black congregation. I got to wonder what was going through the and the members of this congregation getting these $500 tickets. $500 tickets. Wow. I wonder, maybe you can help me with this. The members of this congregation, can they now sue for personal damages?
Well, those tickets were overturned. He withdrew the penalties of those, thankfully, and rightly so. Those never should have been issued in the first place, so that'll become difficult. But look, I can tell you that something the law will never account for is the fear and intimidation that this organization, these individuals, sensed in going to the place where they ought to have the greatest amount of freedom and the greatest amount of security, and that's in their own church. No one in this country should fear the police when they arrive at their church, that they're there other than to direct traffic and to protect them from unwanted aggression. Instead, you had the police coming onto their property and announcing that the governor, and mistakenly the governor, but that the police officer says that their rights had been suspended. That has not been the case. That will not be the case. And when anyone suggests that it is the case, they need to be reminded that that cannot be the case ever.
Jeremy, looking for the silver lining here. Maybe this needs to be a lesson for all public officials, that in spite of these terrible times they're going through right now, the rights granted to us by our Constitution cannot be infringed upon. Again, am I thinking too far outside the box, looking for a little bit too much good news?
No, I think there are two pieces of good news here. Number one, it serves as a bit of inoculation against the virus in other towns and other counties as they pay attention to what happened to Mayor Simmons. And if they just simply say, I don't want that to happen to me, and back off of unconstitutional policies, then that's been all well worth it, certainly. And I have to believe that that has occurred multiple times around the country. And so that's good news right there, that they won't put their hand on the hot stove, as Mayor Simmons may have done down in Greenville. But the second area of silver lining is what I explained before, is that it has revealed the importance of the First Amendment and the importance of not just a truncated right to worship, but instead that fully developed freedom of religion, that free exercise of religion, as the Free Exercise Clause puts it in the First Amendment. That may be a newfound commitment to some. It may be a newfound truth, and beautiful truth at that, to many who have never studied that carefully. You and I maybe have looked at that and appreciated it all of our lives, but perhaps there is one person somewhere who has finally realized, hey, that's a really important amendment, and one that maybe I don't take full advantage of, but I certainly appreciate the reality that we do. James Madison had it right. The Founding Fathers had it right. They fought well for that with their lives and their sacred honor to preserve that very amendment. And I think we owe it to them, at the very least, to preserve it for future generations as well.
I do agree. Jeremy Dye, Deputy General Counsel for First Liberty Institute, please tell our audience where they could go to find out more about this case, also to find out more about the First Liberty Institute.
Yeah, I'd encourage folks to go to firstliberty.org and not only look at all the cases we're working on around the country, but we've specifically got a page all set up just for the COVID-19 issue as well. And I'm sure you can learn a lot of information at firstliberty.org.
Are you busier?
Much busier.
Because of all this going on, yeah. I would think you are, but thank God that you're there. Jeremy Dice, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have Major General Paul Vallely, retired, join us, discussing Operation Nemesis, talking about, do we have any ramifications coming against the Chinese Communist Party? Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith. George is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. And for rebroadcast of our shows, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, George, we do have our next guest with us, and the honor of the introduction is all yours.
Absolutely, and it is an honor. We are very pleased to have Major General Paul Vallely as our guest today, and he is just, you might not be shouldn't be surprised, but he is a graduate of West Point. He's also the founder of Stand Up America. He's also the former Secretary of Defense for special operations under President Ronald Reagan. And when he retired, he was the Deputy Commanding General for the U.S. Army Pacific. And interestingly enough, he's also the co-author of an important book, Endgame, the Blueprint for Victory in the War on Terror. So with that, General Vallely, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Thank you very much. One correction, I was nominated as Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations under Reagan, but they gave it to a State Department guy.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't realize.
Who had no background in special operations. Figure that out. Politics in Washington. And it's Stand Up America U.S. Foundation.
Okay, excellent. Stand Up America U.S. Foundation. Well, I know you do great work, and you've done some very interesting work on this question of what to, not just your book on fighting terrorism, but on how to deal with the communist Chinese regime. They've done a lot of work, as I can tell, to regularize themselves. Their president does a really good job. They're president for life. It's funny we call him a president because he's a dictator. But he's done a really good job, in terms, unlike, say, Kim Jong-un, who comes across as kind of a crazy whack job dictator. The president of China has done a much better job. He comes across looking very kind of westernized and rational and reasonable and normal, like he's our friend. But the reality is they have a very, very dangerous agenda, which involves dominating the world. It isn't just they're competing with us. If they were simply competing with us in the marketplace, it'd be a very different problem. But they really do want to dominate and control the world. And they have their sights set on essentially making us part of their domination. So I just wanted to ask you, kind of, am I overstating the problem? And I think because to me, this Wuhan virus, I'm not saying that they did it as a biological weapon, but their response clearly does seem to be they're learning from all of this. And I wouldn't be shocked if in the future they take some lessons here as to what they could do to hamstring us, and maybe the next time won't be an accident. And as I said, they're dangerous. They intend, but whether it's through G5 technology, through building a blue water navy, through even their own press releases where they say they're building nuclear weapons to strike us and render us unable to defend ourselves. It seems to me they've kind of made it clear what they want to do, and yet too many people think that China is just a low-cost provider and our friend.
Well, I'll go back, George, to the early '90s when I was the Deputy Commanding General, U.S. Army Pacific, and the Far East was our battleground out there. And when we started to really delve in from an intelligence standpoint of tracking what their ambitions were, what they intended to do with their military. So we tracked that through the 90s on up to present day 2020. And so they have stated, George, that they want to dominate the world economically, financially, and militarily. And they have put a lot of money into their armed forces as they have expanded their power throughout the South China Sea, through into the Indian Ocean, then the Silk Road Initiative, which goes across the land up into the Middle East and Europe, the old Silk Road Initiative. And they've been investing millions and millions of dollars into Africa. This trying to, what we call projection of power. The Japanese, as you remember, did this during World War II. They expanded all throughout the Pacific, the islands, all the way down to through China to Singapore, and on down into the Indian Ocean as well, in Burma. So the Chinese are repeating that type of power grab, but they've been so smart economically. And of course, who gave them the money to do this? Our treasuries. Our money built them. And we were sucker enough to say, okay, we'll sell all these bonds and treasury notes, and the Fed approved them, send them over, and guess what? They took that cash. And the plan that we've come up with that you have is a plan, a proposal to negate that and make them pay dearly for this, retribution, I'll call it. But there again, if we track back, George, they have had a roadmap, and they've used that roadmap for their expansion, their investment. Over 100,000 working in Milan in the luxury retail business over there with all the handbags, garments, and over 100,000 just in Milan, Italy, Lombardy province alone. And so they've done that throughout. So they have set their tentacles throughout the world. That's why, whether it was by mistake or whether it was intended to be a bioweapon that came out of the Wuhan laboratory, we know that. But we don't know whether they did intentionally or not. But even if they didn't, they covered it up and then they used it as a bioweapon maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, because we look at the density of cases in Wuhan, but you look at Beijing, where all the politicians are, where the Communist Party is, very low density, right? You look at Shanghai, finance capital of China, very small, very low density of cases. And so connect the dots there. But the harm that they have done, they've got to pay. That's why we prepared a plan, an analysis, and we've sent it to President Trump and Vice President Pence, that here's the situation as we analyzed it, and these are the steps we need to take in our retribution plan to really make them hurt and hurt badly, because they deserve it. Not the Chinese people, but even the contacts I have with the Chinese out of San Francisco, 2 of them were members of the Chinese Communist Party, but now they're anti-Chinese Communist Party. And so they've been feeding me a lot of information as they get from inside China. And that's very important. And I think we're going to see more to come on this. And I know the president's prepared to take action. We'll see what he does in the financial markets. We're not going to go to war over this. We're not going to conduct a land war over there. But certainly we're going to use all the tools of finance, banking, trade to make them really pay for what they've done.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I have to be honest. You are making some great points here. They are. It's a dangerous regime. They and we have to stop pretending that they're our friends. And you look at while the rest of the world was being told that it couldn't be transmitted human to human, they were buying up all the medical equipment they could possibly get their hands on, driving the price up, and now they're trying to sell it at major profits around the world. So, I mean, there's no question that these guys are bad actors. And, I'm concerned even when it comes to shipping. We've made ourselves very vulnerable to China because they now are the dominant player. in maritime and shipping. And
yeah, remember the Panama Canal under our good friend Jimmy Carter? They came in, took over the management of the canal. Now they're doing the Gulf tainers. They've done it in Florida, Pensacola, and some other areas, as I understand it.
Yeah.
So that's how active they've been. I mean, they're inside. They have agents all over the United States. They put them in our colleges and universities, organizations, hired them in Silicon Valley in the high-tech industry. Yeah, so they're everywhere.
They truly are. We are up against the clock for this break, but I'm glad, General, that you can stick through it because there's lots more to discuss, and you truly are a great font of insight and knowledge, and I really appreciate you spending the time with us. But I do want to remind our listeners and our viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Thrift Trader. We are talking with Major General Paul Vallely, and he's been just on fire with great information. So we will be right back after these messages. Don't go away. We, of course, will be here.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith, President and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. And our guest this segment is Major General Paul Vallely. He is the founder of the Stand Up America Foundation. He is retired from the service. He was the Deputy Commanding General for the U.S. Army Pacific. And we're discussing Operation Nemesis. And General, give us a lead up, a follow up, or lead up to a follow up to Operation Nemesis. Then let's go over some of the points and details that you and Steve Mannion have outlined in this proposal.
Well, what we did, Rick and George, we examined everything that we could from an intelligence standpoint of what started, where it started. Was it the wet markets? Was it the animal markets? Was it the top laboratory in China, which is in Wuhan, 11 million people? So we examined that, and then we took it when it started to expand, basically in January, when we first started feeling the effects of it in Europe and Italy and so on. And so as we tracked, we saw when it was first exposed, then the cover-up came in by the Chinese Communist Party intentionally, and I think in my own mind, I'm trying to get in their heads a little bit. They said, "What an opportunity to bring down the United States economically," and they let the travelers in and out of China all over the world. New York was a big recipient of travelers. A lot of people realize that now because of the density of cases. Milan, Italy, because of what I mentioned before of the garment industry there. And then Spain evidently worked into that somehow. So we laid the groundwork based on intelligence of why and how. Now the second part of it is say, okay, here's where we are in April 20th. And so now what do we have to do? Well, we're going to continue to treat the patients. We're going to continue to do the testing. We're going to start to roll back from counties and towns. They're going to open up to their businesses again starting this week. And Montana will be one of the first of them, by the way. And so we can do that and turn the economy back on at the same time as we treat further cases. Now the question is, what is anybody going to do about it? What country is going to take the lead in retribution for what they have done and the thousands and thousands of people who met their demise from COVID-19? And so I think the president is putting together a very serious plan of retribution. I don't think he wants to announce it now, but he will when the timing's right. But they're going to pay for what they've done, Rick.
General, before we get into your list, I read an article about a month ago when this all hit about a speech given about 20 years ago by a high-ranking Chinese general. Right. And in that speech, he says that China is outstripping China, that they don't have enough room, their population is too big, they cannot feed themselves, they're using up all their natural resources, they're polluting their country, and that China was going to have to expand. And he said that there were only 3 places in the world that you could expand to give China everything it wanted. 1 was Australia, 2 was the United States, 3 was Canada. And he said by trying to expand militarily, the United States would never stand up for it, would lead to a thermonuclear war. However, if we come up with a cocktail of biological weapons and then spread that, say, in North America, that it would kill off the population, they could walk right in, they could recolonize, there would be they would get everything they needed, the land, the food, the natural resources, and there would be nobody there to stop them.
Well,
your thoughts on that?
Well, we've known the leadership in the military as well as within the Chinese Communist Party. There have been a number, if you Google, have been a number of Chinese leaders that have said the same thing. What are they going to do and why they're going to do it? We should have been paying attention more on that. But, the president's been tracking China for quite a while. He's not new to this. And if it wasn't for him moving forward with a very aggressive policy to defeat this virus. But now we have to get the other people or other countries in the world to come on board too. And I think they are. A lot of trade has been stopped with China, as I have found out.
Well, let's start there with trade. In your proposal, what are your ideas to handle trade with China? I love your first one, by the way.
Can you? Might be easier, Rick, if you have it in front of you. If you just want to read a few of those,
I do. Intermediate tariff up to 300% on all goods made by Chinese companies that use Chinese parts, sourcing, where companies are controlled or owned by the Chinese individuals or companies. A 300% tariff. That would be real punishment.
Absolutely, and we can do that. But you know, we're holding a trump card as well, Rick, and I don't think I mentioned it in our proposal. But look at the, and I'm not even sure what the number is, billions of paper that they're holding, okay, that we're holding, I guess, that they paid for, and we're paying interest on that, right?
Yep.
Don't pay them any interest. We would
General,
save millions of dollars.
Do you think that tariff should be held as kind of an escrow to settle any civil claims held against that courts may find against the Chinese?
Well, Peter Navarro's working on that right now, I know. And again, we listed, I don't know how many recommendations there, Rick, in that paper. I don't know whether there's 20 of them, whether it's through the media, it's economics, military. There's a lot of things there.
Right.
So we don't have to do all of them, but certainly I would pick the top banking and financial items we have there, and start with that in phase one. Okay.
Right.
And
now,
we're already bringing companies back manufacturing, so that's ongoing and has been for a couple of years now.
Right. Under banking, you have investigate China's state-owned banking operations in the United States.
Right.
I think maybe a lot of Americans would be a little surprised that they've got banks operating here, but they do.
Yes, they do.
Talk about investigation. The banks.
Well, that, and look at the number of companies in America they've invested in. Okay? Look at the New York Stock Exchange, American Stock Exchange. You'll see a number of companies there that traces all the way back to China and the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, it's all there. But if we start auditing those companies, we're going to find out a lot of things about China.
Well, I found out a lot about things about China just reading this paper that you and Steve Bennion did. Wall Street demand Chinese operations that issues IPOs at the Wall Street to submit their original documents for audit or review by the U.S.-based accounting firms. A lot of people might find that interesting that the Chinese are so involved in Wall Street.
Absolutely, yeah. And, that tied with the manufacturing. So we can do all of those things, George and Rick, without having to go to war with our military. Right. Our intelligence our intelligence apparatus for our national security, they're monitoring. The fleets are monitoring what's going on in the China Sea. We have flights over there, satellites. We're watching everything that goes on in North Korea as well as China. So we have a good intelligence operation, except the CIA. President Trump depends on the military intelligence because the CIA is basically broke when it comes to what we call human intelligence. And like I've said before, I'd close the CIA down on Monday and open it up, or close it down on Friday and open it up on Monday with a whole new structure and mission. But that apparatus, that intelligence service has really gone downhill for several decades. So as we try to plus up and improve our capability, we're also looking at a threat of to shut down with a cyber attack on our electrical grid system, which is all run by computers. And they have tested that. They've hacked into our electrical grid system already to some degree. The intelligence NSA has some information on that. So, this is a multitasking thing that we have right here. But we have the ability and the tools, as you see in that paper, to do all of these things, and they can be very effective. But you've got a lot of left-wing United Nations people that are hugging tight with the Chinese. The WHO, the president was absolutely right. If we took that 400 or 450 million and put it directly into helping countries rather than putting it through the United Nations, the money will be better spent, that's for sure. But the president's on the right track now. It's a matter of what he's going to do in the next few weeks. He's got to open the country up now, and then some other things will follow, I think, sequentially in 2 or 3 weeks.
Major General Paul Vallely, we're coming up against a hard break, and I encourage all our viewers and listeners to read your article. And where can they do that?
That's on our website, standupamericaus.org, standupamericaus.org, or they can email us at standupamerica.usa1@gmail.com. So,
would you mind if we put a link on our website to your website? Because
I'd love to. That would be great.
Because, we can barely scratch the surface in the time we have here in Conservative Commandos. But I think this is very important for the American people to educate themselves as to what we are up against. We are up against a very determined foe. And when you discuss the Chinese power grab, equating that to what Japan did, and knowing where that led us to, a world war, this is very, very dangerous territory.
Yeah, well, thanks, George, for having me on, and Rick, I appreciate it. By the way, we're going to be updating that proposal analysis you have in front of you as I get more information in, and I will forward that update to you as soon as we prepare it.
And please come back on and talk about these updates as we go along, because this is not even a Whitman sampler here. This really goes, this problem goes deep. The solutions are also going deep. I think they're very important solutions. But Major General Paul Vallely, we want to thank you so much for joining us here in Conservative Commandos.
Absolutely.
One more time, tell our audience where they could go to read your report and also find out more about Stand Up America Foundation.
Yeah, standupamericaus.org. We've been around since 2005. And the reason I have that, because George Soros in 2015 formed an organization called Stand Up America to challenge me. And so if you Google it, you got to make sure the U.S. Foundation's in there.
All right. We will be sure to do that. Yeah. Again, General, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Grace Watson. She's a legislative fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. She has written a very interesting article, Diplomatic Immunity. Government overreach shouldn't get a free pass under the COVID-19 epidemic. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest right after this break.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host today is George Landrith. George is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. I'm Rick Trader, and for rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You can find our radio show there, our TV show there, and be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And George, we do have our next guest with us, and once again, the honor of the introduction's all yours.
And it's an honor, and it truly is. We are really glad to have with us Grace Watson. She's a legislative fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and she is also served as the communications director for the Office of State Representative Valerie Swanson. And prior to serving at the Texas Capitol, she worked in the tax office of her home county in Eastland. She has been a longtime activist. She's been worked in nonprofit communities, and we're really glad to have her here because the reality is we need more people like her who are committed to liberty and individual freedom and responsibility. And I think these times show the value of both liberty and individual responsibility. So with that, Grace, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here and to have a conversation with other people who care about liberty as much as I do. So I appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about diplomatic immunity. You know, historically, diplomatic immunity has been important. It's part of a way that you could be sure that diplomats wouldn't be mistreated. In other words, that if there was some hostility between two nations, that the unfortunate person who happened to be the diplomat wasn't rounded up and executed in the streets as a way of expressing displeasure. So there could be a long time ago, because that's how it used to work, actually. But you know, literally hundreds of years ago, there became this convention that you would give diplomatic immunity to other countries' diplomats so that we didn't have this problem, and then therefore you had greater representation and the ability to talk things through. So I'm not suggesting it doesn't matter and that we shouldn't have some sort of diplomatic immunity, but clearly it gets abused, and clearly there are times where a diplomatic immunity does not serve the function of increasing diplomatic dialogue between two nations. And so enlighten us as to what should be happening here.
And just for the sake of anyone who might be listening in, I recently wrote an op-ed entitled Diplomatic Immunity, Government Overreach Shouldn't Get a Free Pass Under COVID-19. So I used the term So I use the term diplomatic immunity as kind of a play on words, so to speak. And then as you just described, what the concept of diplomatic immunity actually is. Well, this is a foreign scenario for us. We haven't really seen anything like this since the Spanish flu epidemic over 100 years ago. So this is kind of unfamiliar territory for really anyone who's alive today, including those who make up our government. And so the reason I chose that term was to convey the idea that just because this is an unfamiliar setting and an unfamiliar scenario for all of us doesn't mean that the government should be exempt from its original intent. And then I also use the term because immunity, for me anyway, conjures up the idea of health and sickness, which is certainly very relevant to everything we're all thinking about these days.
Makes sense. One of the things I'm sure that normally, we have the concept, the legal concept of sovereign immunity. So it's very difficult, for example, to sue a state or to sue a federal government in our country. Most of the rules are designed to prevent lawsuits against government. And so it's not surprising that it's sometimes difficult to sue foreign governments. We know after 9/11, for example, it was difficult for Americans to sue, for example, the Saudis or other countries that seem to have something to do, maybe not officially, but behind the scenes, who knows. And so I guess my question is here, what do we need to do? Because it seems to me, even if you believe the benign explanation, and it may very well be the correct one, and that is that they were doing research, legitimate research on a real virus to figure out how to create a vaccine for it, and then somehow accidentally it got out of their research facility into the general population. What we know they didn't do accidentally was lie through their teeth for weeks about how it got out, what it was, whether it was dangerous or not, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lot of bad behavior, even if the first mistake was accidental. So what do we need to do here? Because it seems to me they have to be held to account. Because in real life, if Rick or I had done this, we would lose our home. We would lose any retirement we had. Every dollar we ever hoped to earn for the rest of our lives would be gone. How do we solve this problem with China?
So that's a very big question. How do we solve a problem? How do we solve a problem with China? And that's something I will say I don't have a whole lot. I've worked on some policy issues, say like international relations. It's not something that I currently have a whole lot of expertise on. What I would say is that, what I can speak to is that I believe, in my article I addressed, how the government should interact with us. But
Grace, could you start that answer over? Because you got really the audio was freezing and so forth. So
I understand. Sorry about that.
We'll edit that out, obviously. But if you could just kind of begin again, hopefully we'll not have with everybody in the world on the internet right now, I think sometimes we get a clog in the pipe, so to speak.
So as far as, what the U.S. government should do in relationship to China, I don't really have a lot of expertise on international relations and how that would work out play by play. What I've even written some about is how the government should interact with us. But we do, and so while it's not within, in my opinion, it's not within the government's purview, to say things like you're not allowed to go out in public without a without a face mask or anything like that, whereas I don't think that necessarily falls under the scope of what the government should have to do. They are required to provide for the common defense of its citizens, and so that may entail something with China. Now, I don't know exactly what that would look like play by play, but it's definitely something that I believe the U.S. government should be considering.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of what I would call government overreach, and you make a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Government overreach with telling us, it's one thing to ask us to suggest or even to say we need to socially distance. But for example, in Virginia, my home state, it is a crime to attend church, punishable by a year in jail and a several $1,000 fine. And I kind of scratch my head and say, you've got to be kidding me. I thought we ended that debate back when we actually enacted the Constitution with the First Amendment. And yet we're having this problem. So talk to us a little bit about kind of, again, you were talking about how government interacts with us. It seems to me that they have been acting a lot like the Chinese government, a little totalitarian.
For sure, and then also I do think it's within, the individual to decide, how they're going to handle quarantine. For me, I'm blessed to have a situation where I'm able to work remotely, and because I'm able to do that, I've chosen to self-quarantine because I have family members that are in the age bracket that tends to be more affected by the virus, and I have family members who are prone to respiratory illnesses. So that's something that I've been able to do because my circumstances allow for that. But that's something that I would have done regardless dating me to. And I don't think there's anything wrong with them coming out saying, hey, this is what our scientists are saying. This is what the research is showing. We recommend that you do this. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when it becomes, something mandatory, like people don't have the right to assemble for a religious service, well, clearly that's a problem there because that action right there was one of the core things upon which our whole country was founded. So, just because circumstances change and just because there's a new scenario that we've never dealt with before doesn't mean that liberty doesn't matter anymore. That's still the most important thing, and protecting the individual's liberty was the original intent of our government.
Absolutely. And I would argue that to the extent we've been able to fairly quickly build up, what would I say? We're now producing ventilators at a fast rate. We're producing the masks and other things, testing and so forth. That's been because we have liberty and we have freedom. And so as a result, we have the financial resources to deal with these problems. And yet sometimes those who don't value liberty and freedom seem to think government's the source of all this. And all I can tell you is look around the globe where governments, like Venezuela. Government's very powerful there. It tells everybody exactly what they can do, when they can do it, and so forth. And the people are starving. So it doesn't seem to me, so to me, there's a very practical concern that freedom is not just about you and I being able to do what we want to do. Freedom actually benefits us tremendously, aside from the fact that it lets us do the things we want to do. It actually makes us a more prosperous nation, a more powerful nation. And I think that's an important thing to remember.
It absolutely is. And one of the points that I made in the op-ed that I wrote was that, we are a nation, definitely some overreach and everything, but I still believe that we are a nation of, free individuals, or we mostly are. And I personally believe that the individual is the most important entity on this planet. And so that I would argue that the actions of the individual are, an extremely important thing to consider, and I think that as government, the role of government responsibility increases, well, then individual responsibility tends to decrease. And so as someone who, promotes individual freedom, I also promote individual responsibility and believe that we need to, definitely look at our own actions, because we never want our own freedom to infringe upon someone else, right? Like my liberty ends where yours begins kind of a thing. So, I don't think that the government should come in and tell us how we do that, but I do believe it is on us as individuals. We have a moral responsibility to see how we would play that out in our own lives. But again, that's our responsibility, not the government, to force us to do it.
Absolutely. Good intersection there to tie us up, at least through the break, because we are up against the clock. But that's a very good point. Freedom and personal responsibility go hand in hand. Freedom without personal responsibility doesn't really work. But anyhow, to our listeners and our viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We're coming to you on the Conservative Commandos radio network, broadcast all across this great nation. We're coming to you on the AUN TV network as well. And of course, always on Al Gore's amazing internet, including the CCRShow.com website. Don't go away. We will be right back with more from Grace Watson.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline Refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline Refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith. And once again, for a reminder, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our show or watch a rebroadcast of our show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Our guest this segment is Grace Watson. She's a legislative fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. She's written an article, Diplomatic Immunity, Government Overreach Shouldn't Get a Free Pass Under the COVID-19. Grace, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. And in your article, you had a couple of great examples, I think, upon an overreach of government infringing upon our rights. One, you talk about New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, who tweeted out, "We will crash your party, you'll pay a big fine, and we will name and shame you until everyone gets the message into their heads." Now, Grace, this is the same governor who was interviewed by Tucker Carlson and was asked about shutting down things like churches. And when he was asked where he got the authority to do that, wasn't that infringing upon the First Amendment of the Constitution, he said, well, he really didn't think about it. Well, Grace, I would say this governor didn't think about a lot of things, including abuse of power. Would you agree?
I would have to agree about that because, when I saw that tweet, that an American official, at that high of level, at the governor of a state, would be saying something like that. Like I read over it and I just thought, wow, that's a really rather terrifying thing to see, coming from an elected official like that. So, I would agree. I think one thing that I think has caused a problem with that is there's such a lack of civic education and such a lack of civic knowledge in our country, both on the part of regular citizens and elected officials, as people don't remember what their government is actually supposed to act like. A lot of the time, unfortunately, the people in government what their role is actually supposed to be. And their role is really to serve us and to protect us, not to come out and tell us that they are more powerful than we are and that they're going to publicly name and shame us. Like, maybe the actions of the people at that Corona party, maybe they were doing something that I personally wouldn't advocate doing. But what's far more wrong than that is for an elected official to come out and, just publicly say, I'm going to violate all these different rights that you have. That's far worse and far more dangerous, I believe, than, because of the precedent it sets, I believe that's far more dangerous even what those individuals were doing at their Corona party.
Well, Grace, in your article, I think it gets worse. It gets worse than that. In your article, you point out Texas ordered all residents to cover their faces with mask or fabric when entering buildings when they're not in their homes, which is arguably an improvement from what the order's original mandate was. And you also talk about a Laredo city councilman, and this is where it gets worse, who said, I'd rather bury them in debt than bury them in a coffin. Well, Grace, I would say in many cases, one's just as bad as the other. For instance, does this guy realize the largest reason for divorce is financial problems? So here he wants to create financial problems for his constituents in addition to all the problems that we're dealing at today. I mean, do you see this as possibly public officials like this guy is just using this to build up their coffers and to use this as an excuse for another cash cow?
I don't know, we're behind that. I do know that a lot of the time, city officials that work for local governments, at least I've seen this on the Texas level anyway, sometimes a lot of the time these local governments kind of become can be a little bit tyrannical in their narrow scheme. There's not always a whole lot of state preemptions on them regarding what they can and can't do if they're large enough to be a home rule city, which means that they can make their own charters, have more leeway to make their own rules. So I'm not, I don't know what his exact intentions were, but what I can say is that if it's it was kind of put forward in his statement that they could either be buried in a coffin or buried in debt, and I'm like, well, as a citizen, I would really rather you not bury me in anything, So, that's my immediate response is I'm like, well, I don't think it's one or the other. I think we can somehow avoid having both, but it's just something where you can see at all levels, you can see where this government overreach takes place when people forget elected to serve their best in be the heavy hand. You can see that overreach anything.
Yeah. Grace, the problem, and again, it gets deeper because you in your article point out these two instances, but they're not unique. We're seeing this time and time again across the country. The governor of Michigan says that if you own two homes, you can stay in one or the other, but you can't travel between the two. Again, the governor of New Jersey can pick and choose the winners of losers. Like, okay, it's all right for liquor stores to stay open. It's all right for the marijuana shops to stay open. But it took the second amendment rights organization to go to court to demand that the Second Amendment rights stay open and that of gun shops. How do we rein in these public officials, Grace?
It's a very complicated question because, for me, it's easy. I sit around a lot of the time and I'm like, well, the government is overreaching and I believe in liberty. And then it comes down to the hard part, which is figuring out, well, how do I fix this? Right. I think that there's a lot of things that can be done legislatively. At the end of the day, if you really want to get something done, if you really want to prevent something from happening, pass a law against that thing. It happens, the other direction, passing law against our liberties all the time. But sometimes you'll see that happening the other direction, so say one thing that I've personally seen, on the front lines here in Texas is sometimes when a city or another political subdivision of the state is passing things that, is passing ordinances that they really shouldn't be passing. One thing that the state of Texas can do in their legislature. So sometimes it kind of feels like you're trying to stay one step ahead of the cities, in preempting things. But, that is something that can be done legislatively. And also there's really, and I believe I mentioned this earlier, there's really a lack of civic knowledge here. A lot of people don't, I believe that just your average layperson doesn't understand, or not even layperson, people at all levels, doesn't really understand that the government was originally intended to protect them, and be a good thing by more or less leaving them alone, and just, keep them providing. So I think that people would be better about holding their public officials accountable if they understood that they can hold them accountable.
Well, Grace, I'll tell you what I think they should do. They should listen to that Grace Watson. Because in her article, she writes something I think they should all listen to. Officials would do well to remember that government in the United States was intended not only to provide for the common defense of individuals, but for individual rights as well. Mm-hmm. And Grace, you wrote that, and I want to thank you so much for that. It was a great article. And Grace, I want to thank you for joining us. I know the connection's not been real great. I apologize for that. But please tell our audience where they could read your article and find out more about the Texas Public Policy Foundation.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And thank y'all for having me on. I've really, really enjoyed having this discussion with y'all and getting to visit with some like-minded people on the topic. So you can go to the Texas Public Policy Foundation. You can visit our website. There's tons of articles and op-eds that I've written and that many of our there's a lot of awesome employees and researchers there who put out good content all the time. So that's texaspolicy.com. You can also find us on the social networks. On Twitter, we're at TPPF, and on Facebook, just Texas Public. And we're always coming out with research. A lot of our people write op-eds and articles similarly to what I wrote, and it's always relevant and always from a liberty-based perspective. So that's a great place to keep up with what the liberty scene looks like in Texas and even across the nation as well.
Well, again, Grace Watson, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care and God bless.
Absolutely. Thank you. Y'all do the same.
You're quite welcome. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. George and I will be back with more right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Well, George, that just about wraps it up for today's show. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. And George, please tell our audience how to follow you when you're not here on Conservative Commandos.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always here in spirit, at least. But when I'm not actually here in person, you can follow my Frontiers of Freedom website, ff.org. You can follow me on Twitter at glandrith. That's GLANDRITH. Landrith. So we had some great guests today, and I should just say thanks to them. One, we had Jeremy Dice. He's with First Liberty Institute, and we talked about some really interesting just First Amendment, religious freedom issues that really mattered. Then, of course, we shifted gears and talked with Major General Paul Vallely, and I thought his point of how we deal with this issue with China, and that would be a mistake for us just to kind of roll over and take it. We have to have some response. And as a general, he understood that war isn't necessarily the approach, but there are things we can do, and he has a really good plan, I think, to essentially make the communist Chinese regime pay a little price for what they did and their mendacity and so forth. And then we concluded with Grace Watson at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, discussing the important intersection of freedom and personal responsibility. Now, sometimes government overreach seems to forget that we have freedom and we ought to rely on people to be responsible. When you don't expect people to be responsible, guess what? They will probably, achieve the expectation you've provided. And so too often government just assumes that everyone's a complete idiot. And of course, that only encourages complete idiocy. So great conversations all the way across the board for all of them.
All right. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.